Recently, I've been playing a lot of Destiny 1. Earlier in the week, I was streaming the Destiny 1 raids, and even though I'm not a popular person in the community whatsoever, I had about 20 people in the stream at one point. People chatting were telling me how they never completed a Destiny 1 raid, and even one person in the chat said that he was in the stream to see what a Destiny 1 raid looked like because he had never played one. This really surprised me because I had thought that more people would have completed raids in Destiny 1. Recalling back all the way to the Destiny 2 reveal stream even, Luke Smith said that less than 50% of the population completed raids in Destiny 1, and that was a realization back then. But still, the word on the Destiny street is that Destiny 1 raids are exclusively better than Destiny 2 raids. This also might be because of nostalgia reasons, but all in all, the raids Bungie puts out are made by them, the same studio, minus Spire Stars by Vicarious Visions. In this video, I want to go over how the Destiny 1 raids compare to the Destiny 2 raids, and why the Destiny 1 raids are most preferred. In the beginning, as I stated, some of these raids are loved because of nostalgia. But with Destiny 2 coming up on its 4th year, the fall that would be Destiny 3, following the same pattern as Destiny 1, is another fall expansion. So we should be able to tie ourselves to the embrace of one of the raids in Destiny 2, right? Vault of Glass, for example, was the first ever raid to release in Destiny, being beaten by Datto's clanmates in Clan Primeguard, hashtag Datto for World's First eventually. This was a never-before-seen style of gameplay, especially in an FPS, bringing a World of Warcraft type experience to a console-only game at the time, and being the first of its kind to pull it off was breaking in the gaming community. Though Destiny's first year was rough in spots, it was still a memorable time. Now let's look at Raid 5, aka Leviathan, the first one in Destiny 2. A fresh new start and a new game, Leviathan was set to be the raid that learned from all the Destiny 1 raids. Leviathan, when it first launched, was great, but slowly declined in likability and playtime. Comparing the excitement of these two raids, Vault of Glass and Leviathan, is no doubt that Vault is towering above Leviathan in love and replayability. That's just the example of a release raid, however. Leviathan did bring the underbelly and basically like a patrol the raid experience for extra loot, which was loved. The next expansion in the first year release of December in both games, The Dark Below for Destiny 1 and Curse of Osiris for Destiny 2, introduced another raid, Crota's End for D1 and Eater Worlds for D2. These are both similar raids in size comparison of the originals, which is a topic we'll get into next. Crota beaten first by Invigorate Gaming, and Eater by a few different people not in the same clan. Though they were both small raids, Bungie stating that Eater was a raid lair, meaning it was smaller in size to a raid, quote-unquote. It got a good response, but was finished in less than 2 hours blind. Crota took about 6 hours. Both relatively small raids, but mechanics, another topic we'll cover, extended the time of this raid. These are all beginning examples of simplicity and size that we will get into. We will not include jumping puzzles here, but there is one thing that D1 had that really shows a big difference in how entry of a raid works. Only parts that give a chest/rewards will be counted. Vault of Glass, intro plates, 3 phases of Spire Defense, Oracles, Templar, Gatekeeper, Atheon. It's also hard not to include the Gorgon Maze, but based on the rules that we're setting for this, we're not going to include it. Crota had the Lamps, Bridge, Deathslinger, then Crota. King's Fall had the intro relic slamming, Totems, War Priest, Golgoroth, the Daughters, and then Oryx. Wrath of the Machine had the intro charges, Vosik, Siege Engine, Axis Phase 1, and Axis Phase 2. This averages a Destiny 1 raid to be about 5.25 encounters. Now let's look at Destiny 2. Leviathan had Baths, Dogs, Gauntlet, Callus. Eater Worlds had Defend Against Loyalists, Argos Phase 1, Argos Phase 2. Spire had Intro Plates, Ship Destruction, and Kalwar Boss Fight. Last Wish had Kali, Shirochi, Morgeth, Vault, Riven, then Queen's Walk. Scourge of the Past had Radiance Banking, Sparrow Race, Boss Phase 1, Boss Phase 2. Crown of Sorrow had Intro Lighting, Jumping Puzzle, Boss Phase 1, Boss Phase 2. Yes, the jumping puzzle in Crown of Sorrow did give rewards. Garden of Salvation has the Harpy intro, the Spire Defense, Harpy Boss, and Final Boss. This averages a Destiny 2 raid to be exactly on average 4 reward encounters. The question I also get into conversation with my friends and people in stream is what raid in Destiny 2 is most like a raid in Destiny 1. My answer is always Last Wish because of the size. It is without a doubt one of the biggest raids ever in Destiny. The size of a raid shows how much time is put into building the raid and how much the community is going to get out of it with different experiences. People in Destiny do not like repetition, i.e. bounties, same mechanic missions, and even raid encounters. The reason some Destiny 2 raids are not played and are described as quote-unquote being tired of that raid is because with only a few encounters, doing the same ones over and over again will get tiring. You can do an Eater Worlds and the Spire Stars, which is 6 encounters in total from 2 raids, compared to Destiny 1 having a Vault of Glass or a King's Fall being 6 encounters. Destiny 1 versus Destiny 2 raids, you could have 2 Destiny 2 raids equal 1 Destiny 1 raid. So you are constantly doing the same 4 raid encounters instead of 6 or having more raids to increase power. But we do fall into the trap of a raid being too short in Destiny 2. These same encounters get boring, the size plays into more encounters and variety in the raid being played weekly, and people aren't always in the same encounters more often. Not to mention, originally when new raids come out, they leave behind the older ones. This was fixed in Destiny 1 with Age of Triumph, and hopefully we will see some sort of event doing this in Destiny 2 as well. Every raid has their first encounter, which in Destiny 1 is an intro mechanic. These encounters are more laid back, but are more diverse and a proper salutation to the raid. In Vault of Glass, we have the 3-plate defense to raise a spire to allow access into the raid. This also grants upgrade materials. King's Fall has a relic slamming, Wrath has charge banking, and Siva charge mechanic are introduced in the beginning. All of these intro encounters were like the first encounters in Destiny 2 raids. So let's say we take out intro mechanics of the yearly fall release raids. So only Vault, King's Fall, Wrath, Levy, Last Wish, and Garden. Take out the intro / first encounter, and we strip Levy and Garden into 3 rewards, and Last Wish into 5. The same as Vault and King's Fall, and only 4 for Wrath. These intro encounters would be amazing if added to Destiny 2 structure of raids. Like a Nightfall reward we get Prisms, I put that as an intro reward to a raid as well, with a chances at an Ascendant Shard, adding another encounter to the Destiny 2 raids that is designed around more fun and laid back mechanic in the beginning of a raid. Another aspect of structure in a raid is a concentric revolved mechanic of the entire raid. The first raid that has central mechanic was Wrath of the Machine, with the Siva charges being a prominent mechanic in different ways. They steered away from this with Leviathan and Last Wish, but all other Destiny 2 raids have had the same style. Eater used the short Vex craniums, Spire had a ball throwing mechanic to people, Scourge had Radiance banking, Crown uses the Witch's Ritual, and Garden utilizes tether boxes the entire time. These raids are all amazing in their ways of utilizing a central mechanic, but we get into the conversation of variety. The reason Destiny 1 raids didn't get stale even when not relevant until Age of Triumph was the experience of feeling like you were doing something different and difficult in all aspects of the raid. A different puzzle every encounter felt more complex and spiked difficulty. With a concentric mechanic, you say, what can we do with this blank at this time? Or where do we put blank at this time? Whereas Vault, Crota, King's Fall, Levy, and Last Wish were all a different puzzle every time, in every mechanic, in every encounter. The structure of a concentric mechanic is amazing, but when the D2 raids have been released back to back, all with this 4 encounter revolving concentric mechanic gets old no matter what raid it is. This section will be short because it is already happening in Destiny 2. Releasing a raid once a year in the fall expansion makes raids feel more surprising and, dare I use this word, cool. The more hardcore and long-term fan base will agree. A yearly release will give them more time to make encounters, more puzzles, and a fleshed out raid. It is awesome that they're doing this now and saved a raid between the fall expansions like they did in D1. Destiny 1 raids when released had a boss mystery, but you knew what you were up against. With vanilla D1, you knew the head honcho of the game was Vex, and Crota's End expansion says it all. Through the year, we received lore that Crota's father would get revenge and that we would receive the arrival of Oryx and the Taken. The raid was known to be Taken/Hive and in Oryx's throne world somehow. When Siva came out, we knew the raid was the Splicer Fallen and that the boss was going to be the head of the Splicers because we didn't meet him in the campaign. The lore directly translated into the raid. D2 has recently applied this function to its past raids in the last years with Last Wish, Scourge, Crown of Sorrow, and Garden. From the Reef lore before Forsaken, a Fallen excursion on weaponry, Hive corruption into Leviathan, and the Darkness and Vex offensive. Originally, Leviathan, Eater, and Spire didn't tie in. Spire didn't have anything to do with Rasputin, and Eater didn't correlate with the story of Osiris either. Leviathan wasn't a Red War-based raid either. I know in the lore Callus would call upon our help, but comparing direct story expansion translation to the raids did not happen in year 1 of Destiny 1. To someone who didn't know enough of the lore, you would not be able to tell that Callus would be a big part of the story. A casual player with remedial knowledge of the lore could depict the raid being an expansion of the story in D1, which is also now becoming the case in D2, but is another big difference between how D1 and D2 released raids in the beginning and between the years. All Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 raids have a positive impact on players in one way or another. Mechanic diversity, structure, and campaign tie-ins create a more memorable and replayable experience. A balance between lengthier and shorter raids, centralized mechanics, and unique to each encounter mechanics is interesting, but more variety in the style and structures and lore makes the most memorable experiences, which is why it seems D1 raids get more praise. Destiny 2 raids hold special places in people's hearts and brings friends together. Nothing feels better than your first completion no matter what raid with your friends. As Luke Smith said, Destiny is a place best played with your friends. In my hardcore Destiny experience, my advice would be to play all the raids in both of the games, because you cannot find another experience like this in another video game. Thank you all very much for making it to the end of the video. I hope I was able to show some comparisons here between the Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 raids, and show you why some opinions might be skewed different ways within the community. All the footage that I used from different YouTube channels and all the music that was used in this video all actually came from the Destiny soundtrack, and they all will be in the description. Also, if you think I missed anything in this video, let me know down in the comments and I might make a future video on it if you enjoyed. If you guys have any questions or anything like that about Destiny 1 or Destiny 2 raids, feel free to ask me, and I'm always down to play them, so you can always add me on my PSN. And I also will stream Destiny 1 raids and Destiny 2 raids, so if you'd like to check that out, please follow my Twitch. But other than that, thank you all very much for watching, and have a great day. Peace.